Story 1. I love my job because I'm using it as a source of extra income to keep up with my peers instead of feeling forced to work to avoid homelessness. Story 2. I would continue working and use the $4,000 to become debt-free over time, which would take less than a year, as I don't have a large debt load. Once I was debt-free, I would start saving and investing the $4,000 until I had enough to buy a nice little house in the location I would love to live. I am unsure if I would ever quit working before retirement, but if I didn't, I would use the $4,000 to maximize retirement contributions each year until I retired. I do not know if it's a smart plan, but it is a plan. Story 3. Depends on inflation. Does it mean $4,000 regardless of inflation, or $4,000 adjusting to keep up with inflation? Story 4. I would be able to get out of the financial hole and live without the fear each month of something getting turned off. Story 5. Still working. It's not enough for the mortgage, utilities, food, and cost of living adjustments for inflation or retirement. Story 6. I would keep my day job. My rent is well over half of my income. However, I would probably sleep better at night with the extra income. Story 7. I would live like I am living right now, but with much less stress and the ability to save money for the future. Story 8. I would create a list of items I want that cost less than $4,000 and then purchase those items. I would divide the remaining money into 4 parts. 1 part for immediate and short-term spending, 2 parts for savings, and the last part for investments. I would follow this budgeting plan for every $4,000 I receive each month after the first month. Story 9. I would sell my small business and find part-time work that allows me to clock out while having minimal responsibilities. I just paid off my house, I drive a reliable, affordable, paid-off car, and my children attend state colleges. This would be nice. Story 10. I am a retired military veteran and currently receiving a monthly pension. It is not free money, as I earned it through my service. Now, I receive payments consistently, regardless of my current activities. Story 11. Breathe a little easier as I start a new gaming-related company. It will relieve some pressure and provide comfort as I begin this retirement venture, giving me more room to learn how business works. Story 12. It would be similar to what I'm doing now, but with less concern. My friends would receive mysterious job offers to pursue the things they wanted to do, but for enough money to alleviate their worries. Story 13. International travel and ensure my significant other enjoys using a camera and editing for social media. Story 14. Not any differently. That is not really a life-changing amount of money. I am not saying it would not be welcome, but it is not life-changing. Story 15. Yes, I would still need my full-time job. It seems like I could buy eggs during the upcoming recession. Story 16. If I own my house, then I can travel and do whatever I want. It's a stress-free life. You've truly won. Just live a simple life. Story 17. I could finally afford a house. Unless everyone is getting this deal, in which case, I probably still can't afford anything due to rampant inflation. Story 18. I would work until I could afford to buy a house in the woods with a large amount of wooded property, along with a garage that has a lift, and then focus on channeling my inner Nicole Conan. Story 19. That is not a large amount of money. If I do not have to pay taxes on it, I can manage that. I would likely still work part-time or try to advance one of my side projects. Story 20. I will buy a second-hand car. Everything will remain the same. I will work hard at my job and do my best to keep my expenses at the current level. I will save and invest the extra money. It is my lifelong dream to drive a car down the highway with the windows rolled down and fresh air in my face. With my family, I will explore beautiful Canada. Story 21. I would fund an online business. For $1,000 is a significant amount to start a profitable dropshipping website. I would allocate the second month's $4,000 purely to advertising. This investment should generate several $1,000s in sales each month, provided I have a good product. At this point, we could reach $8,000 a month, allowing further investment and possibly even the purchase of other websites to increase sales. If you come across a teenager with a business idea you like, I could acquire that idea for $10,000. Next month, advertising again. Continue this process consistently. It is relatively straightforward to enter online marketing with that level of investment. Story 22. Pretty much the same way, although I would quit my regular job and supplement my income with writing and handcrafts. Story 23. That would probably reduce my retirement plan significantly. I would continue to earn about the same, pay off all debt, including the mortgage, and then retire. My wife loves her job and it pays well. Between my current retirement planning and that guaranteed income, I would want to own my house outright before calling it a day. Story 24. I probably wouldn't change anything about how I live, to be honest. I'm currently in medical school, so right now that would cover 100% of my living expenses and about 30 to 35% of my tuition, which would be great. It would also likely allow me to pay off the rest by the end of my residency. However, after that, it wouldn't represent a very substantial percentage of my income. Story 25. Have my wife quit her job and probably take a slight pay cut for a less stressful job. Pay off debt and enjoy life. Story 26. That is not life-changing money for many people. Nothing would change for me or most of the individuals I know. Story 27. That's about what I make now, which is very different, aside from not needing to go to work. I could dedicate my time to bettering myself. Would I quit my job? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't need it. That's assuming we don't face another inflation crisis, though. I assume the salary would never change. Story 28. I could do that now and actually make it $7,000 a month with a very conservative withdrawal from retirement funds. However, I really like my job and am doing my best work ever. Story 29. $4,000 extra a month would be a significant boost. I wouldn't live my day-to-day life any differently, but it would go a long way in fixing things in my house, paying back my parents for a loan, eating better food, and covering visits to the doctor and dentist. I could also afford to get another dog. Story 30. I would be much happier without the stress. I would likely spend my time creatively, writing, taking photos, and making music. Story 31. I am retired and a landlord. I currently receive more than this. I believe I am doing what I would be doing at this time. Story 32. I would save it. $4,000 per month is $48,000 a year, which is a lot less than I make now. Not to mention, what will $4,000 be worth when I retire in 40 to 50 years? Story 33. Whatever people say they would do, just remember that people are idealistic. In reality, many individuals may end up with various addictions and no reason to control them. Story 34. I have a friend who is a trust fund kid. He receives $12,500 a month since he was 18. He never attended college and has never had a job. He spends his time smoking marijuana and playing video games. He lives in Portland, is unmarried, and has no children. He had a girlfriend for 20 years whom he cheated on frequently, but she eventually got tired of his behavior about 5 years ago. That's how he spends his money. He exemplifies how being born wealthy does not guarantee success. I have seen more wealthy kids struggle in life when faced with real challenges than succeed. The only difference is that their financial security provides a safety net. Story 35. I would volunteer to help people, perhaps children. I would dedicate about 4 days a week to music, painting, and creating. Story 36. I am considering starting my own small business instead of working for corporations that drain my energy and leave me feeling unfulfilled. Story 37. Invest around 90% of it. Hopefully retire a bit earlier. Maybe buy myself a new tool every few months that I otherwise couldn't justify. Story 38. The same as I do now. 4K resolution isn't significant today, and over the decades it won't amount to much. Story 39. I would continue my current activities, but I would pursue my master's degree and explore specific areas such as speech therapy and occupational therapy. Story 40. $4,000 a month guaranteed? I'm packing some clean clothes in a backpack and hitting the road. You can travel forever with $4,000 a month guaranteed for the rest of your life. Story 41. I make roughly half that. Therefore, I would not postpone medical care, vehicle maintenance, and all the other things that I am currently leaving undone due to a lack of resources, which will eventually lead to a crisis of some kind. Story 42. I could definitely work less. Is that amount after taxes or before? I would like to be a service animal trainer. With an extra $4,000, I could probably quit and pursue that. Story 43. I would probably continue working where I am, but I would complain a lot less about all the minor issues that have been bothering me lately. Story 44. I wonder if there is something expected of me. Do I need to harm someone? Do I have to do anything unethical? I would likely donate some to charity to feel better. Story 45. You just described Social Security. In a straightforward response, I would use it to fund an earlier retirement. $4,000 a month is equivalent to having $1.2 million invested, so I would subtract that from my retirement number. Story 46. I could have a good portion of my debts paid off after a few months and could move into a small house with a yard. I would still work and allow the savings to accumulate. I would probably spend more on activities, concerts, and similar events. Story 47. Invest a significant amount. With inflation, it won't take long before $4,000 is actually worth much less. Story 48. My great project would go into overdrive. I would add at least a couple hundred counties a year. My first book would come out in summer, and my second would be released the following summer. It would be my job. Story 49. I just thought of something. The company is discussing the recovery time objective. I would move out of the policy's range. Most of my team is remote. I fall within the 40-mile limit. Story 50. That's more than I make now, and I live in a local area, so I would quit my current job to find something I would actually enjoy doing. I will continue spending at my current frugal rate while aggressively saving for a new home. Story 51. I feel that $4,000 per month is a good supplemental income. You can work on what you love as a passion while earning the additional $4,000 on the side. Story 52. I wouldn't need to record the price of each grocery on my list and ensure I have enough money to pay for everything before I reach the checkout. Otherwise, less important items will go back on the shelf. Story 53. Stress-free. I dedicate myself to living simply, tending to my cats in my workshop, helping my friends and neighbors, and generally enjoying life. Story 54. 4K Plus continues to operate. It's similar to all the low-income individuals living in apartments that cost $2K a month, and now I get to be one of them. Story 55. It's not quite enough for my expenses, so I would use it to pay down debt and then invest it in the market. I would probably take a small portion to indulge occasionally, but the goal is to save and retire early. Story 56. I would invest it in my down payment fund for a house, and once the house was purchased, I would use it to pay the mortgage, insurance, and property taxes. Story 57. I would be able to donate to charity and help people in need instead of always being the one in need. Story 58. I would travel more. I have lived semi-nomadically for a while, but every so often I have to stop in one place and save money before I can get on the road again. With a guaranteed income like this, I wouldn't have to stay in one place for so long. Story 59. Adjusted for inflation or not. If it's a flat $4,000, it's less than my wife, and I will be receiving Social Security in about 6 years. It is adjusted for inflation, yet it is still not enough to support even a very modest existence. You could probably live on that, but it's not a life I would want. If I could add that to my existing retirement plan, I would consider retiring now at 56 with the other savings and investments I have. Story 60. I will probably travel around like a wanderer for a year. I will pick a place to buy some land and purchase it with the money I saved. I will build a studio apartment on the property and use the land as collateral to finance it. I will pay it off in a year or two. Then, I will play video games, watch cartoons, and enjoy good food from my garden every day. I want to focus on my own life and live without debt while saving money. Maybe one day I will travel the world with the money I save. I will likely avoid relationships because they often make me sad. The feeling of never being good enough is exhausting, and this journey is about my happiness. Story 61. For $48,000 per year, I can't change much. It allows for a good trip or two a year, but that doesn't provide total financial freedom. My pension will be almost twice that amount. If I had $4,000 a day, then we would be discussing a different lifestyle. I believe this post raises a real question that needs to be addressed. Story 62. Work as much as I do now, perhaps with a couple of holidays a year, and live like someone who earns between $8,000 and $12,000 every month. Story 63. I would go ahead and move and probably plan to retire early. This feels like one of those situations where I shouldn't use all that money for myself, though. Story 64. A friend of mine receives $4,000 a month from a military injury for the rest of his life. He works a normal job and goes about his life like anyone else. Story 65. Assuming we are talking about 4,000 in your local currency, then I would quit my job or at least go part-time and pursue something that makes me happy. I currently make a bit over 2,000 pounds a month working, and I can get by fairly well, so 4,000 a month would allow me to live comfortably with no stress. Story 66. Pay off debt and invest the rest toward early retirement. Use 2 of the month's savings for a yearly vacation or 2. Story 67. I could quit my job and spend time with my family or relax at home playing video games. Story 68. I would continue with my current activities, but I could invest in home repairs that would greatly enhance my peace of mind. Story 69. I would quit my job and develop a robust garden for about a year. Then I would go to nursing school. Call me crazy, but I still want to be a nurse, even with some income coming in. Story 70. As others have likely responded, I am feeling the same way now. I anticipate that it will take me about 6 to 7 years to pay down all my personal and tax debt. Story 71. Buy Bitcoin because with inflation in a decade, $4,000 a month will only buy what $1,000 a month does now. It's the same issue that older generations are finding with Social Security and how much they thought they would need to retire. 50 years ago, $1,600 a month was a substantial amount to live on. But in today's economy, $1,600 is insufficient. That is how $4,000 will feel in another decade, especially with massive global inflation beginning to take hold. If corrective measures are not taken, we may witness a full-blown collapse of every government. This means they will print money and have to implement austerity measures. It is time to face the harsh realities now, and for a short period, it will be very challenging. Therefore, I want to invest that money into something that outperforms the expected return, and the only option I see that will definitely do that is Bitcoin. Story 72. Depending on my age, whether younger or middle-aged, I plan to keep working and save a significant amount for retirement to retire early. As I near retirement, I will simply retire, as it will be sufficient. I anticipate a raise when Social Security insurance begins, if it is still available. Story 73. Never work again, do whatever I want, and travel as much as possible. I would likely hike the Pacific Crest Trail or the Continental Divide Trail every summer, along with plenty of other long trails. Story 74. I would leave a poor workplace for a better one doing the same job where I do not have to deal with the difficulties. Story 75. In a different country for $4,000 a month, you can live very well in East Asian countries like Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Story 76. That's not enough to live comfortably in a major city in the United States, so I would continue working. In an alternative universe, that money would serve me better if I lived overseas. I would move to another city or country where the quality of life is decent. If I had a free $4,000 per month, that would be my retirement savings. I wouldn't touch it for the next 30 years, resulting in an automatic $1 million, regardless of its value due to the current inflation. Story 77. I would help people with depression and assist them in communicating better. I might also adopt a few more rescue animals. Story 78. I would sleep better at night knowing all necessary costs are taken care of each month and that we live within our means. Story 79. I would ensure my lifestyle is appropriately budgeted at $5,000 a month. I believe everyone needs this type of stress in their lives. Otherwise, why would most people be hopelessly in debt? Story 80. Nothing would change except I would be saving more money. Perhaps every 5 to 7 years, I would treat myself to a nice vacation. Story 81. I had to convert it to yen, and that's not even double what I make. My salary is considered very low here in Japan. I would just keep my job and maybe move to a slightly bigger apartment, but that's about it. Story 82. Exactly the same. I would save an additional $4,000 a month for retirement and hope to retire years earlier than I likely will. I might just pay off my house faster. Paying an extra $4,000 a month would dramatically increase the speed of paying it off. Story 83. Pay off debt, travel, volunteer to help others, and assist family and friends if they need it. At some point, return to school to pursue my dreams without my survival relying on my success. Story 84. Pretty much the same as now, except I would increase the budgets for new cars and home renovations and save a little more. Story 85. 4K is not enough anymore. You couldn't make it work, but you won't be doing anything extra without effort. Story 86. I would use it to feed and house the less fortunate, making their lives a little less uncomfortable. Just kidding. Probably not. Story 87. I would take 5 naps a day with my puppy and probably spend the remaining time learning random things, like a few languages. Story 88. This is the so-called Social Security for seniors. If you wait until you are 70 to withdraw, then the Democrats want to fully tax it. Story 89. $48,000 a year isn't going to change my life much. It would just put me in a higher tax bracket and eliminate any scholarships my kids receive for college, meaning I would have to pay the entire tuition. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.